All right. Where should we go from there? Should we dive into my character structure?
Yeah. So yeah, I'm looking at your picture right now, and looking at your back, and then now you're looking to the side. So one of the things that we would immediately take notice of from your posture at the side is your anterior pelvic tilt and kyphosis. So there's a rounding of the upper back, and then there's a hyperextension of your lower back, and your belly sort of hangs forward, and your head also moves forward. Those are usually indicative of an oral character structure, which would make sense, given that the oral character is most of his issues are around here. That's why we call them oral. And it often comes from not being nourished at the mouth by the mother. So not getting what you need. So either, crying it out when you're in the crib and nobody comes to get you, so you reach out.
Yeah.
Or reaching with your mouth, because as a child, we don't reach with our arms just yet. They kind of flail and stuff. We reach with our mouth.
Right.
That's first reaching appendage. If you look at it, it's like root. The baby will sort of root. What it's looking for is the breast.
Yeah.
So there's oftentimes, and this is not always the case, but based on this soft science, the oral character structure is formed by not receiving the nourishment and support that it needed in that oral stage of development, usually from birth to about age 2.5, 3.
Okay.
The closing of your throat, which would probably also affect the breath, will also lead to the forward head posture.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times you got to ask yourself, is it a chicken or an egg? Do you have a forward head posture and an oral character structure because of the psychological, emotional, physical needs not being met?
Yeah.
Or is it because, who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe you just got bad posture.
Yeah.
And so you're not breathing. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't know.
Yeah. Could it be
The fact that your throat
nourishment?
was closed, huh?
Could the oral be overly nourished, or is it usually malnourished?
Here's the interesting thing, and this is why it's all sort of weird. The oral character structure oftentimes, it begins with not getting what it perceives it needs, because perception is reality. So what ends up happening is they usually grow up feeling entitled.
Yeah.
And that entitled attitude will often get them what they want, but they'll never feel satisfied. So like I'm entitled to certain things, but even when I get it, I'm still sort of indignant.
Yeah.
Because it actually doesn't fulfill the deep need.
Yeah. Up to that point, I didn't think I was oral at all, but maybe I'll think about it. Maybe there are elements there of entitlement, or
maybe or maybe not. Some other aspects of the oral is that they're usually very friendly, and you're usually very they want to keep the peace. They're not like psychopaths who are willing to go to war. And they're not like masochists that will just want to beat themselves up. They're usually very friendly, fun-loving people. Get along with others, and a lot of times they shine. They like to be seen. Like, I see you got your guitar back there. They're usually into like some sort of music or art or fashion or things that are pop culture. It's just a part of the structure.
Yeah.
But I'm just going based on what I see on your profile.
Yeah.
And,
It's helping me connect with something that I may have not paid attention to before.
Yeah. But there's also, especially oral and schizoid, there may be a little bit of a crossover because they're so close.
Yeah.
Like the psychopath and the masochist, there's a little bit of crossover because they're close. And in fact, there's a spectrum. And on the far end of the spectrum, to the left side in this model, is fear.
Yeah.
And on the far right side, there's anger.
Uh-huh.
So the oral and the schizoid are more of what you would call fear types.
Yeah.
And the fear type, you would call them that because they're more their breath is more out.
Yeah.
When someone becomes afraid, right?
Yeah.
Like shock will just like the breath comes out of you.
Yeah.
Where so there's sort of a languishing, like fear frozen.
Yeah.
And where on the other side of the spectrum, the anger is more of an in breath, puffed up.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I have a little bit of that.
So with the oral and the schizoid, you can get a little bit of a crossover, and the fact that your throat was cut off could very much be elements of schizoid.
Yeah. The schism.
Because the throat is the chimney between the head and the body. It's the gateway.
Okay.
And so schizoid has everything to do with being cut off. So there's a tendency for the schizoid to be cut off from their body.
Right.
And it usually happens, it happens across the ocular segment, jaw, and throat.
Mm-hmm. They become very heady.
The body is, that's where the retreat out of fear is. So you got to retreat somewhere when you're afraid, right? And so they retreat up to the head.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times they will live a life where the body is not integrated with the very colorful mind. Usually a lot of scientists and artists and psychics, like people who prophets, like people who can see stuff and hear stuff. And there's a whole world, like they're connected to the transcendent, but then it the body sort of languishes or is just being dragged around by the head.
Yeah. So cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
But again, this is all, like I said, none of this can be written in stone because literally we're working with the soul.
Yeah.
So Freud his goal was to medicalize psychology or psychology and psychotherapy. But before Freud, these were all things that were dealt with by the church. Mm-hmm. These are spiritual matters. Freud tried to bridge the gap, and I don't know if it was good or not. There's some good things that come out of it, but it also, it caused a lot of problems, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I see what he was trying to do, and I know what he's trying to do. He's trying to make the soul into a science, like the science of the soul. It's really what psychotherapy is. Mm-hmm. Psychotherapy, psychoanalysis, psychology is like the science of the soul.
Yeah.
And when you're dealing with the soul, nothing's concrete.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I believe. He taught us the king, warrior, magician, lover, right? I have the book right here. Mm-hmm. So I have the king, right? Mm-hmm. I have make men strong again. And then I have king, warrior, magician, lover.
That's dope.
And king, warrior, magician, lover has been guiding my life since I joined your program. And I believe that within the king, there is king, warrior, magician, lover. Within the lover, there is king, warrior, magician, lover. Within the magician, there's king, warrior, magician, lover. Within the warrior, there's king, warrior, magician, lover. And the reason why I say that, because that's the only way I found to address how flexible it is or how fuzzy it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can see that.
Yeah. Since I've learned it, I thought of myself as heavily magician and warrior. And I was ignoring the king and lover aspect. And for the last 2-3 years, I've been working diligently on evolving the lover aspect and the king aspect, my intuition, my emotions, feeling a lot of emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we are, King, Warrior, Magician, Lover comes from Robert Moore, who was a student of Carl Jung. And Carl Jung, just like Freud, except he took it to, it's so funny because if you put Freud in the middle, you got Wilhelm Reich, who dealt with the body. and you got Carl Jung that dealt with the soul, spirit. And what Carl Jung tried to do was map the psyche. Like he truly was like the scientist of the soul. And he proposed that the psyche is actually quadrated, which would make perfect sense that it's a cross, and that there are 4 quadrants.
Right.
Because really there's only 4 modes of operation for a man.
And 4 seasons of the year.
Yeah, right. It makes perfect sense. We're quadrated. We can think, we can feel, we can do, and we can be.
Right.
And that's it. Like, what else is there? Thinking, feeling, being, doing. And so King, Warrior, Magician, Lover is just a way to sort of superimpose mythical language on thinking, magician, feeling, lover, doing, warrior, and being, king. So it's not that we are one of any of them. We're all of them. The fully self-actualized man is all 4.
Right.
But based on, our predisposition, we lean one way or another.
Yeah. If we link that to the Myers-Briggs personality test, I know you're ENFP.
Right. I haven't taken that test in like decades, but last time I did, that's what I was.
Yeah. And I happen to be, sometimes I get ISFJ and sometimes I get ISTJ, but most of the time I get ISTJ. And what I realized is that my closest friends, I attract a lot of ENFPs. And what I realized was ENFP and ISTJ are the exact opposite in everything. So if you value variety first, I value variety last. And if you value practicality last, I value practicality first.
Yeah, interesting.
It's really interesting, and it helped me understand myself, because in the beginning of your course, I think King Leadership or King Transformation, know thyself, take all these self-assessments. As I dove into it, I started to learn about myself. Oh, I'm this way because of this, and okay, I don't need to change that way, but maybe I can improve on this weakness of mine, so to speak. But not only did I understand myself better, I started to understand people around me better. It's like, instead of like, I would notice a member of my family prioritizing something that I don't prioritize, and initially I would take offense, like, why aren't they considering my perspective? And after studying that, I was like, oh, that makes total sense, because they value the opposite, or they value something else first. But at the end of the day, we all value the same things. It's just different organization.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Nice. I love that. Is there anything else to glean from my posture, or is it more like it's the hips? So what can I do about the hip stuff? I know I have tightness in my low back for sure. Or what bioenergetics maybe we can exercise together if we have some time, and people can follow along if they resonate.
Yeah, let me look. Good. And then I'm just looking at you straight on.
Okay.
Yeah, there's sort of a shift. You sort of have a shift to your right side, and your head is slightly displaced. And these are all just biomechanical things that I'm.
That's from childhood too.
Looking at maybe injuries.
Yeah, I had injuries in my left knee, and that's pretty much it. But this shift, like, since I was a child, as far as I can remember, my right shoulder was lower than the left shoulder. Yeah, sometimes they're even when I'm really taking care of myself.
Yeah. So bioenergetics is biology and energetics, right? It's recognizing that we're a body and we're a soul, right? That we are tangible and there's an intangible part of us, that we're both, that we're breath and we're dust. And it takes into account the fact that you can use the body to affect the soul, right? You change the body. Like, think about people who've, lost weight. Now they carry themselves a little differently. Their charisma is a bit different.
Right.
It's like, wow, you changed your body and like you changed your life.
Yeah.
Right.
A lot of times they get less funny.
Yeah, so you could work from that perspective, which is more tangible, and you're working with the mortar of the body, the sinew, the muscles, the bones, the tendons, and such. But you could also work from the aspect of breath, and the breath can make a change to the body. Like you can work with the breath to open up feeling in areas of the body that are dead.
Yeah.
Areas of the bodies that lacks feeling.
Yeah.
And then when it opens up to feeling, it starts to look different.
Yeah.
And will change the way you breathe and ultimately change your posture.
Yeah.
So with the oral character structure, a lot of what's required is a deeper breathing into the chest, the heart. Also, getting feeling to drop below the pelvis and into the legs.
Yep.
Getting vibration back into the legs, feeling back into the legs, because the oral character structure, energy rises and it consolidates in the mouth and in the face.
Yeah.
But the belly and the pelvis and the legs tend to be a little bit empty.
Mm-hmm.
And same thing with the
Absolutely.
heart.
I try every single day to bring energy there and do some bioenergetic exercises there that target that.
Mm-hmm.
Do a lot of shaking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's all very helpful. It's just about bringing back aliveness to the parts of the body that have been cut off.
Yeah. Are there certain emotions that can guide me? If I tap into this emotion, it can create a better release, or not necessarily?
So there's the temptation to chase emotion because it feels good and it can be a release. But I see it more fruitful to give it to the breathing, allow the breathing to do the healing, and whatever comes up, let it come up.
Yeah. Just be
right?
open
Like
to
instead of
emotion.
trying to chase an emotion, see what emotion arises.
Okay.
Right? And oftentimes, based on where in the body there's holding, the emotion that's associated with it will arise when it opens. So, for example, my very first experience with bioenergetics, I don't know, this was like 2002. And I was in New York City, and I took a private session with a woman who was offering this form of body psychology therapy I've never heard of. I thought it sounded cool. So I took a session with her, and she had me do some breathing exercises, right? Deep into breathing with the bow. But then she had me do something really weird. She had me lay face down on a mattress, grab the mattress, and start humping it with my hips. Now, it wasn't like, like a masturbation kind of thing. She literally was just like, it was like an exercise. She was like, pull your hips back and sock it. Like, boom, boom. Like, slam your hips into the mattress. And I don't know what the hell's going on. I'm just listening to her. I'm like, okay, fine. I'm breathing. She says, just make sure you're still breathing.
Yeah.
Keep breathing and socking your hips into the mattress. That's what she kept saying.
For how long?
Sock it. Within, I don't know, it felt like maybe 5 minutes.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, a dam broke. Like something just broke in me.
Wow.
And I broke out in laughter. Like laughter. I'm laughing like so hard I couldn't control myself. Yeah. Uncontrollable laughter. And I'm like apologizing to her. I'm like, I'm sorry, like we're supposed to be doing this thing, and I'm laughing, and I'm like, I can't help myself. And so I'm telling her I'm sorry. She's like, no, it's okay. Let it be. Like, just keep laughing.
Yeah.
I'll wait till you're done. And I was like, what the heck was that?
Trap joy.
And that's what she told me. She was like, your pelvis is your joy center.
Wow.
Your dick is like your joystick. And she explained to me that I had some repressed joy. She said somewhere, somehow I picked up on the idea that it's not good to be you're not a good boy if you feel joy.
Yeah.
So I was like, wow, well, I don't ever remember that. But like,
Yeah.
you know, I'm not saying that you're wrong, but what I do acknowledge is that something was there
Yeah.
and it just got released.
Yeah.
And it was crazy. And then it's so funny because this is like, you know, you could think like, you know, people who do go on like ayahuasca trips or, you know, use LSD or do drugs.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you get a high, but then the high is over
Quickly.
But this transformed something physically in me.
Yeah.
That never was the same afterwards. I remember going back home and having sex with my wife, you know, maybe a few days later. And that same laughter happened after orgasm. Yeah. And I'm like, you know, my wife was confused. She's like, what? Like, I never did that before, you know, and we had been together for, you know, a decade at that time. And I knew that it was because there was something brand new, something that was released within me.
Yeah.
That even to this day, you know, depending on how relaxed I am when I ejaculate, I could be laughing for a little while.
That's cool. Interesting. So after all this time, the laughter still comes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It depends on how relaxed I actually am, you know.
Okay.
Like if I'm
That's cool.
If I'm tense, it won't work.
Yeah, so
like if I'm relaxed and we're fully in the moment and you know, I orgasm, I'll just laugh and it'll like tears can come to my eyes sometimes.
Okay, so I'm gonna add that to my bioenergetics routine. Do I do it with such intensity that it feels like an intense workout at the end, or do I do it kind of like gently, so it's kind of like a light 5 minutes?
Bioenergetics can be rough. It can be tough, and that's why you need a coach a lot of times. Yeah. Because if it was left up to me, I was tired. Like I remember sweating. Yeah. I probably would have stopped. But she was like, just keep going, keep going, keep going. And I, you know, I didn't know what I was doing. So I just trusted her.
Right. And she knew. And
so, yeah, like there are times to be gentle, don't get me wrong. But there are also times that you have to run head first through the block.
Okay. Did you do it afterwards as a upkeep, kind of like weightlifting? You do the same exercises over and over?
I never did anything ever again until many years later. I mean, literally 10 years later, 2012, when I met Dr. Glazier, but I was in Florida. So that was my first and last experience for 10 years.
Yeah.
That was in New York City. And a year later, I had moved down to Florida. And that was it.
If you found tremendous value in this clip from my full podcast with Elliott, I'm going to link for you the video here where he guides me through the exercise and you'll see me have a vocal transformation on the spot. I invite you to practice along to experience it for yourself. See you there.
And try to breathe on the exhale without making noise. Make it